Welcome to Fish and Snacks, the podcast that teaches you all about what's going on in sports, in life, and in Hollywood. And now, how about a nice round of applause for Eric Fish Snyder and Brad Snacks Grunberg.
49.
Look at that face. Do that face. Go. I love that. That's the look of excitement, happiness. I don't know. I got to do this crap with fish again. It's tough, but hey, 49. We've done 49 episodes. We're so excited. We're back to a kind of an old format of doing interviews, and then we bring up some of this stuff that we've done recently as far as sports and entertainment. But anytime you get a Hall of Famer in anything, it's really a pleasure and an honor to have them as a guest. And we have a guy that just got inducted, Snacks, into the Boxing Hall of Fame as a writer. And he's covered, you'll see this man, he's covered everything from old school Muhammad Ali until what boxing is now, and I want to get into that. So without further ado, let's bring in our guest, the recent Hall of Famer, the most recent Hall of Famer in the Boxing Hall of Fame for writing. Let's give it up for Kevin Iole.
Kevin Iole, baby.
What's up, guys? Thank you.
How you doing? We're not worthy.
Wait, I'll give you my...
Overwhelmed by this. It's crazy, right? I can't. When I got the call in December that I was going in, I was shocked, and I remained just as shocked 6 months later, 7 months later, whatever it was.
You're well deserved. I've read some of your articles. You're a humble class act, buddy. I'm
Thank
happy
you.
for you.
Appreciate you.
I've known you in Vegas for many, many years, and whenever I talk to my friend JT the Brick, he always brings you up. JT the Brick Snacks is a local guy that covers the Raiders. It's blown up since he got into the scene here in 90. Yeah. So we're the biggest fans of boxing, and I'm kind of pissed off that I don't know if you'll agree with this, has taken kind of a second seat to UFC. I don't know, because there's not enough names out there, the names that I grew up with, and I'm 65, so I remember Muhammad Ali and Larry Holmes and Joe Frazier. Then we go into the next level with the Sugar Ray Leonards, and you go to Tyson and where the state of boxing is now. It's not a dead sport, but now that you're a Hall of Famer, do you have a reason why it kind of took a slide and UFC got bigger?
It was. I mean, boxing did everything to itself. It was not UFC doing something or other sports. Everything that happened to boxing happened and did by itself. I did an article in February of 2025, I believe it was, before I retired. And I found an interview on YouTube with Rocky Marciano. And it was done a couple of days before he died, very close to the time of his death. And he was talking about the problems in boxing in 1966. And when he discussed them, they were the exact problems that plague boxing today, the exact same ones. And so boxing has never fixed any of its issues, right? And I think that's where it is. So it opened the door, and you go back, right? This was before the Super Bowl in 1966. The Super Bowl wasn't until 1967. The NBA wasn't particularly big. What were the big sports in the United States at that time? Well, certainly, Major League Baseball was the leader. Horse racing was kind of trending down, but horse racing was still big. The boxing just couldn't stand prosperity and still can't.
Yeah.
There's a question I have for you. Have you ever been in a fight in your life?
None that I like to talk about. But yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Well, are you a middleweight, a lightweight? What was your record?
1.
Oh God.
Oh, that's terrific.
There are 3 fights I want to ask you about. These are okay. First of all, when I was a kid, I watched Larry Holmes pummel Muhammad Ali in the corner at Caesar's Palace. And he kept looking at the ref, stop this. This guy's a legend, and he never did. I didn't like Muhammad Ali going out like that. It was really, really tough. Your opinion about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is Larry was 100% right. Like, what do I have to do? There's a one-sided fight. This guy is clearly at the end of his career. He can't defend himself. Do you want me to kill him? That's basically what Larry was saying. And I think the referee got caught up in who he was refereeing and not how the fight was going. Richard Green was the referee in that fight, and it was. I think he's looking at it saying, that's Muhammad Ali over there. I got to give him a chance. And I get that, right? I get it. But you also have to know your number one responsibility beyond anything else is to the health and safety of the fighters. And letting Muhammad Ali get pummeled, for 5 extra rounds, you could have stopped that in the 5th and it would have been, nobody could have argued. It was done. He just let him take all that extra punishment for no reason.
Yeah. Another fight I wanted to bring up was Tyson Holyfield ear biting. I was in I think you remember, there was a new beer called Gold Beer that Don King was starting. I was in the commercial with Joe Torre, a comedian, going across country to the fight, and I got to bring my dad, and it was the biggest circus I've ever seen in my life. My dad didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what was going on. Mills Lane, my favorite referee of all time, I think he knew what was going on. Were you there?
I was there. I was sitting next to the great Jim Murray, to me, the greatest sports writer of all time, and he was to my left. What a night. I mean, I have so many stories about that night because the fight was just off the hook crazy. And all the things, at one point there was reports of gunshots in the casino, which it turned out to be not true. It was champagne, a chandelier fell down and champagne bottles cracking. And that's what it was. It was not gunshots in the casino, but people, because of everything going on, thought it was. And I was actually calling the paper from the casino because I had talked to the police, the officer in charge on the scene. And I was telling the Review Journal editor, there's not gunshots in the casino at the exact time when the local TV stations were live saying gunshots fired at the MGM, which was total bullshit. There were not. And, there was a lot of other crazy stuff that night, but
yeah, people were flipping over tables. They were so pissed because it didn't last very long. My dad goes, "What?" I said, "Dad, just stay in your seat." And we waited for the whole. And we saw him pick up the ear. Him picked up Holyfield's ear, and my dad goes, "Wow." So it was something my dad and I will never ever forget.
Well, you think of that night, Bob Sheridan was announcing for Don King on what they call the international broadcast, or sometimes they call it the guide track. And he was he's in the International Boxing Hall of Fame as a broadcaster now. But he was released from the hospital. He had major heart problems all his life. He was released from the hospital so he could call that fight. And then after the bite, while all the ruckus is going on, he had a heart attack sitting at ringside. So there was all this stuff happening. And if people were watching, everybody's running toward the ring. And here comes a stretcher taking the colonel out of the ring because he had a heart attack.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
It was crazy.
Wow. It's, the lineage of boxing, Brad. You got another story you want? You got another one, right? Was it about Michael
the
Moore?
last one is I was 30 years old and I met him. I used to wait tables at 20th Century Fox, and big George Foreman and Hulk Hogan came into the kitchen to see all the guys. Why? Could you tell me the George Foreman younger and then George Foreman with the grills kind of guy? And when he knocked out Michael Moore, I could not believe it. It's one of the greatest fights I've ever seen. What do you have to say about that?
Well, it was a horrible for one punch, right? I mean, it was 9 rounds of nothing. Michael Moore winning the fight, and he was winning the fight, but nothing was happening. It was not an exciting fight. And George just, looked like he was at the end, looked like he didn't belong. And then, boom, boom, jab, right hand, and Moore went out. And that is what made George. And, whenever we pick fights, a lot of times, at least I did, I often liked the boxer in these fights. but you can never count out the puncher for that very reason, right? Mike Tyson was dangerous because you just never know. He might land that one punch. George Foreman, I think George was a bigger puncher than Mike, and especially because he was, a much bigger man than Mike, right? George really had a lot of velocity on his shots, and he would catch you on the chin and forget about it.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Kevin, I know you're friends with this guy. I'm gonna show a picture. There's you and the great Sugar Ray Leonard. Okay. One of my favorite boxers, of course, I'm 16 in 1976 when he wins the Olympics. But I still, the Hagler Leonard fight to me is probably one of the greatest fights, but it was still so polarizing. And there's something missing there because Hagler was such a great fighter. You were probably there, and if not, do you really think, come on, tell America and the world, do you really think Sugar Ray Leonard won that fight?
Against Hagler?
Yeah.
I have scored that fight. I've watched it probably 20 times, and I probably scored it 15 times. And I get a different score each time, you score it. But, and it's not right to do that because like you're influenced by your past viewings of the fight. Stuff that's happening, right? And your focus is on. I think it's part of the problem of the 10-point must system. The way the fact that Ray won the fight, he won by the rules, and I think it's a defensible decision. But I mean, who did we think was the better boxer, better fighter that week? Hagler. If you would have said when the bell for the 12th round ended, and you would have said, who would you rather be, Ray or Marvin? Most people would have said Marvin. But what did Marvin not do? He did not do what he did against Tommy Hearns, and he did not do what he did against Roberto Duran. So obviously something happened to prevent that, right? He blew out Roberto Duran. He blows out Tommy, in 3 rounds. But Ray, he goes the distance with. Whether you think he won or lost, it was a close fight. And I think you have to credit Ray for that because, I called Ray Saturday night. They have 2 really formal things at the Hall of Fame. They have they call the Banquet of Champions on Saturday, and they probably had 60 world champions and former world champions up there, Hall of Famers. And at that, I got up and spoke, and I called Sugar Ray the boxing's greatest living fighter. I believe that's true. Marvin's gone now, but you think of all the people that are out there. I think he's the greatest that there is still left. So Ray was a genius in the ring. Marvin fought the wrong fight, but when you talk about that fight, he lost it before the bell ever sounded because all the negotiations, they made the bigger ring that night, which he didn't want. They made it 12 rounds instead of 15 rounds, which he didn't want. All those things, I think, really favored Ray, not Marvin.
Right. It got him out of the business. By the way, if you can see my T-shirt, it's Ray Boom Boom Mancini, the pride of Youngstown, right?
And Ray.
Yeah, he told me to say hello to you. He was at my wedding. I was in his wedding, and again, I'm a boxing purist. I'm also a boxing nostalgia guy, and I just go back to the 70s and 80s. Here's a picture of a guy right now, because you said the greatest boxer alive. Some people would say that guy. There's you and the great Floyd Mayweather, who resides here in Las Vegas, and a great tipper. Please tell everyone that it's not true. There's no truth to the rumors that he's going to fight Tyson. I can't take these gimmick fights. I can't.
Well, I mean, they did agree on the fight. Now, I'm not a reporter anymore, so I'm retired, so I'm not making phone calls on a day-to-day basis. But I understand that the fight is kind of fallen through for financing. But they did sign to fight in an exhibition match in Africa. I'm not surprised. Those things are hard to stage, and especially when you go to Africa, you're going to a place that doesn't have the infrastructure, and you got to bring everything over there. That makes it really hard. So I'm guessing that fight probably doesn't happen. But Floyd needs money. Floyd's in trouble. And it's sad when you made $1 billion or close to $1 billion in the ring, and that you're having to fight at 47, 48 years old. Because it sucks.
Where does all his money go? Ex-wives? I mean, everything.
Well,
he lives large.
Yeah, he lives, think of this, how much it costs to turn those planes on every time he flies somewhere, right? Just to turn it on, I think it's 50 or 100,000. And he's flying with a big group of people on the plane. He's paying a big freight for them. He got arrested, not arrested, but sued the other day for passing a bad check, $200,000 jewelry. You got a $7 million lien to the IRS. You're in back taxes. What are you buying $200,000 worth of jewelry for?
Right. One of the great fights, I want to hear your opinion about it, was McGregor Money Mayweather. That was an interesting fight.
Wait a minute. I think Ray Mancini said, do not buy that fight. He's going to toy with them for 5 rounds to give people what they want and knock his ass out, and is exactly what he did. That's that's the gimmick, right?
I wrote it in my column. So those are fights that how they're going to end because McGregor had no pro fights. He's fighting a guy 49-0, an Olympic medalist, one of the great fighters of all time. What did we think was going to happen? I mean, we knew, I wrote a column. You can go find it, on Yahoo Sports. And I said exactly like you said Ray did. I laid it out how, I said Mayweather would carry him for 4 rounds. And then
clean this shit up because I stepped in your dog shit in my sandal.
Sir, I'm doing a
Oh, we got a little drama going on with Snacks in the background. This is the podcast.
Can you please leave, sir? Can you play? I don't know who this guy. Hey, get this guy out of here. Get this. Okay, see ya. That was Raymond. That was.
This might be another fight, Kevin. So there's always something on a podcast with fish.
I know there's always people coming in and out of here. Sorry about that, Kevin.
But Kevin, Snacks, get back. That's the problem I have. It's a gimmick. Like he's gonna fight Tyson, who's got to be in his early 60s. McGregor, it just bought. What was it? Jake Paul? Was it Logan or Jake Paul fighting Tyson?
Oh, Jake Paul. What's your opinion about that?
You're such an aficionado, Kevin, in this sport. It's got to kill you, even though you're retired, to see that people buy into this stuff. If Mayweather fights Tyson and it goes through, I guarantee it'll be a huge pay-per-view. And what intrinsic value is that fight for anyone? So you see a 49-year-old guy fighting a 61-year-old guy. That's like Brad and his roommate right now.
About the fight, right? If you're a boxing fan, there's no reason to watch the fight. Now, if you for entertainment, why do we watch pro wrestling, right? Pro wrestling, I mean, they're great athletes and they do daring things, in the ring, but they're not fighting, right? And but we watch it. So if you want to be entertained by watching 2 guys who used to be great, spend your money. Go ahead, do it. I don't think if you're looking for a good boxing match that you're going to appreciate that fight and you're going to feel ripped off and people are going to complain about it. But buyer beware. Know what it is going in. Everybody's going to tell you, if you buy it anyways, that's on you.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about Kevin Iole, the person that I know, because you are a big Pittsburgh sports fan, right? You have a great love of animals. And then finish off with what you're doing now in retirement. Are you just enjoying it? But first of all, talk about your love of Pittsburgh sports, because when we met, Penguins and the Pirates and the Steelers, and that's what you have in common with my wife and Boom Boom, because Youngstown's in that area. Brad, the biggest lover of dogs. Look at that. Oh, there you go. That's a legend. That's a Hall of Famer.
There you go.
You love dogs. Brad's the biggest lover of dogs, besides a girl I work with, Ashley, on the planet. So go Pittsburgh, go Dogs, and talk about what you're doing now.
Well, I grew up in Pittsburgh. I went to Springdale High School, and then I started college at University of Miami. I was a Hurricane. And then I transferred and I graduated. So I was at the U. And I covered football there, and I got yelled at by Lou Saban. So that was kind of a fun when I covered football. I was sitting there at the season-ending press conference, and it was my sophomore year. So I left after my first semester of my sophomore year. But I had written an article for the Miami Hurricane, the student newspaper, and I basically said, Miami failed, Saban hasn't delivered on his promise, what he said was going to be, and this team is not that good, and they're not going to be national champions, blah, 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 blah. And I'm sitting with all the major writers, Miami Herald, Miami Sun, Fort Lauderdale Sun Sentinel, all the Miami News, all the big writers. And I'm sitting there with him, and Saban starts to pick on me. He starts to get on me, and I'm a college kid, and I was like 19 at the time. And the other writers are going, he really wants to yell at us, but he doesn't want to call us by name, so he's getting on you in a sense of them, right? So just sit there and don't get shook up. Don't let him, scare you or anything. So, it was kind of fun that Lou Saban at least was reading my articles. I was a teenager writing covering the University of Miami. But I went back to Pittsburgh. I graduated from Point Park College. I got a job as a full-time sports writer while I was still in college. And I've been doing this ever since.
That's great. Oh, man. I'm going to tell you, Kevin, you're a treat. By the way, the last question I have for you, have you ever been to a strip club with a boxer?
Well, I've been to a strip club with a boxer. Let's see. I can't recall being in a strip club. Oh, wait a minute. Yes. Not that I went, but in 1997, Hector Camacho fought Oscar De La Hoya. And I saw Hector Camacho in Olympic Garden in Las Vegas. At the time, it was a big strip joint, and he was drunk out of his mind. And
no,
not the Macho Man. Rest in peace.
Before the fight, and I called guys at the paper, and I said, guys, if you want to bet, I would go down and bet tonight, and bet as much as you can on Oscar, because here's what I just saw of Hector Camacho.
Oh God, love it.
Kevin, I've heard. We'll get you out. I've heard from people in the know, maybe boom boom, that you can never fix a fighter, but you can fix a ref. You brought up Camacho. I was up there in '89 in Reno when Ray fought Camacho, and there's no way he wins that fight. Now I'm biased. Ray just had him cornered and everything like that, and they gave Camacho unanimous decision. Give me a fight that you covered. You said, I can't believe they gave this decision to the guy.
Oh man,
that everyone would know about.
Paulie Malignaggi against Juan Diaz. I think that was a fight that was in Houston, and
Diaz, sure.
And that was a Showtime fight. And Diaz, I thought, clearly won the fight and didn't get the decision. I think that was one. There've been a lot of them over the years. I thought Triple G won the first fight with Canelo, and my argument wasn't so much that it was close. So if it was a draw, or Canelo won by a little bit, but the one judge had a 10-2 in favor of Canelo. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh,
wow.
Kevin, this has been a treat, man. I want to wish you a happy Father's Day and have a great. Oh, somebody's booing you. No, this guy's good. This guy's good. Kevin,
he's got Brad's got a gallery of friends and fans.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right, guys, appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Kevin. I'll see you soon.
Kevin,
all right,
I'm buying you a drink. Thanks. Bye.
Bye, Kevin.
Kevin's the best. Okay. Thanks. Hey, Fish, let's take a break. I'm gonna call you in the
Brad?
car. Okay.
I lost your audio, Brad.
I'm gonna call you,
Brad.
I'll call you in the car. Okay. Yeah, we gotta go. Okay.
Brad.
Yeah. No. I'll call you.
Well, we lost Brad. Maybe he's going to have another fight we're going to put on Showtime or HBO. But you know what? Brad's roommates are on right now? They're on that. You know what? This episode 49 is brought to you by W Energy Drinks, the official fuel of people that love to heckle Brad when he's on a podcast. Who the hell is in his audience? My God. So, look. It gives you clean, jitter-free energy with no crash. I drink this stuff, so does Snacks, and there's no weird chemical taste. I had to get rid of the caffeine in my life, and this thing took care of it, and it's got a lot of good supplements in it. Love it. It's a kind of energy that makes you feel like you could decorate the house, assemble a toy with instructions written in hieroglyphics, and explain to your family again what a podcast actually is. All right, so head over to w.gg, use the promo code Fish and Snacks at checkout for 10% of your entire order. That's one word, all caps, Fish and Snacks. W Energy, it keeps Fish and Snacks going. So I can get him back in. If not, I got a couple things to talk about. He's out right now. we're doing this today and it's going to drop on Monday. We tell you that. I'm into the World Cup. I am so digging this tournament. And for everyone politically that said that people wouldn't show up, they can't stand America, they can't stand the politics of this country, horseshit. It wasn't about that. The United States was awarded the World Cup years ago. And you got to understand, teams like Senegal, teams like Ghana and Panama and Cameroon and all the small countries, that's all they have. We have four major sports in this country: the NFL, NBA, NHL, and Major League Baseball. This is it. So you're rooting for your country. You get a chance to come to America, and it's spread out. I even watched the match. It was in Toronto. Okay. It's in Atlanta. It's in Kansas City. It's in Los Angeles. It's in Seattle. It's in New York, Dallas, Boston. Go to YouTube, which we're on, and watch a video of all the Scottish fans walking down the street. They drained all the pubs on the way to the stadium. They ran out of Sam Adams, ran out of draft beer, thousands of people. Okay. So when I hear Americans say it's just soccer, quit the ignorance, quit the arrogance. It's the number one sport in the world. Yes, you can go out there and you could decorate and love all the fact that there's 7 million people at the Knicks parade. Thank God they won the championship for New York, 53 years. Congratulations. Nothing compared to what the ratings are going to be in soccer. And I'm telling you, we drop Monday. We'll know by then if the United States plays Australia. It'll be the result will be done by the time you see this. But if the United States wins, they move on to the second round. Could you imagine the chaos if they made it into the Final Four? That would go on. Just the regular laymen and casual fans. It would be absolutely awesome. And the more eyes that come to a sport, okay, maybe you get more fans. I'll give you one quick example. I'm long-winded on this. The WNBA for 28 years didn't make any money. And here comes a nice little greatest shooting guard in the history of college basketball from Iowa named Caitlin Clark, right? What does she do? She comes in the WNBA. Oh, forget what she could do. It brought the eyes on the other great players. Like Asia Wilson here in Las Vegas is phenomenal. Okay, Kelsey Plum in Los Angeles. The young kid Paige Brookers. There's so many, Angel Reese, so many great players in this league. So sometimes you need eyes on something, and then your eyes open up. If I can't get Brad in, I'm going to go to Hollywood and I'll get us out of here. I don't understand the kind of vitriol that a great director named Steven Spielberg is enduring. He dropped a film this past weekend called Disclosure Day. It's another sci-fi film about aliens coming to the United States, coming to the world. And it's been a lot of mixed reviews. I have friends of mine that said they loved it, and some say they liked it. Some say they can't. You could have waited till it comes on streaming. I'm not making any judgment on it because I haven't seen the film yet. I'm a big fan of Spielberg, so it's hard for me to think anything that he's done is bad. Every director has a bad film in him or something like that. I'm looking forward to the resurgence of Hollywood. That Hollywood is just coming back. People are going to the movies. The movie, every time someone walks into Shucks Tavern on North Durango and says, "Fish, I went to the movies," the first thing I say to them is two things: was the movie packed? And they'll say, "Yeah, it was a good crowd." Then I tell them this: do what Fish does. Go to a local CVS or go to a Walgreens, because they have a stand in their store where you could buy Goobers, Raisinets, Jujubes, 3 for $3, and then stick them in the theater. Because one thing I noticed, I'm not cheap at all. Ask anybody. But hell, you're going to pay what, $10, $9, $12 for a box of Raisinets at a movie, and the movie costs and get it in there. I really stopped going to movies for one reason. I don't have a patience for people that talk in the theater. Okay. So I'm the kind of guy that if I'm streaming it on my big screen TV, I could obviously rewind it if I miss a line, or I have to go take a bathroom break. Can't do that at the theater. You can't say the projection is, "Hey, this asshole was talking 2 rows back," and you replay it a couple of frames back so I can hear what Brad Pitt's saying. Nah, it doesn't work that way. So that's one Hollywood tidbit. I'm going to say this again. I didn't get into streaming until 2020 when my business was shut down for COVID. So I'm seeing shows that I should have seen back in the 2000s to 2010s, mainly Mad Men, mainly Breaking Bad. Okay. And now I just finished, my wife and I, 3 days ago, Rescue Me. We had Lenny Clark on our podcast a few weeks ago. I can't think of a better 7 seasons of a show that mixed comedy and drama perfectly. You're crying, you're laughing, you fall in love with these characters. And if the show's that good and you come home from work and your wife says, "What are you doing this, that? Can we get 2 episodes in?" That shows you, the pull. And it should, when you think about the characters, when you're talking about certain scenes, when you go to a bar with your friends that have seen the show, thank God for streaming, because again, I'm catching up on a lot of stuff. Dennis Leary's Tommy Gavin is up there with some of the top characters I've ever seen. Some TV land, Don Draper, Mad Men, Walter White. Plus my video. Walter White from Breaking Bad, Tony Soprano. Just amazing, amazing stuff. And again, this is number 49. This is Fish and Snacks. We'll get to you next week on number 50 to see if Brad survived his all-out brawl with his roommates. That was not staged. That was real. Brad somehow got into, I guess the whole beef was someone crapped in the house. We didn't really get if it was Brad's dog or Brad, but we'll find out for you. So I'm saying goodbye for Brad Grunberg. Fish, this is Fish Snacks 49. We'll see you for number 50.